This is Paul Newman with the Cashflow Cafe podcast. Today we have Jared Benko, the athletic director for Georgia Southern University. I'm excited to have him on the podcast today. In 1 minute or less, tell us about yourself, Jared.
Yeah, well, Paul, thanks for having me here. I'm from Athens, Georgia, or actually Watkinsville, Georgia, Coney County, and grew up there, went to school in Athens, and really been in college athletics since I was 18, and I've been blessed to have a chance after 4 stops to come back to my home state, and obviously my wife and my 2 boys. My wife Sarah and I have been married, 13 years. See, I gotta make sure I get that number right.
Don't get that wrong.
Yeah, 13 years, and I have 2 kids, Hudson and Cooper. They're 11 and 8. And listen, I love athletics more. So our why is really pouring into young people and trying to help them be the best version of themselves. And so we love Statesboro, love Georgia Southern.
It's so you kind of touched on what brought you to Statesboro, and what are just some of the little things that you love about Statesboro?
Well, it always starts with people, right? And I think one of the cool things about Statesboro is everyone's all in on Georgia Southern, and it becomes a really strong selling point, not only for recruits but coaches and staff, that you're coming to a community that's bought in, right? And people show up, and more important, they care. But also too, it's an easy place to transition to. I grew up in Northeast Georgia, and obviously come down to Southeast Georgia, but never lived here before. And quite frankly, and quite honestly, it really felt like home just the moment I got here. And it goes to the people. We had unbelievable people, not only in the community, but also on campus. And it's made this transition really easy. And quite frankly, that's why I think our best days are ahead, not only as an institution, but also this part of the state is you got the right people that have the right care factor and are putting in the effort to make sure we're doing the best we can to position ourselves for really good days ahead.
This small town that I love, traffic is 5-10 minutes to get to work, but we're really, Statesboro is kind of on the come up, where I feel like we have some amazing things ahead.
Yeah.
The Hyundai plant is kind of obviously a big job growth thing, but I think the thing that makes Statesboro so attractive is the small town feel, a great place to raise your family. I think the fact that I get to take my kids to Georgia Southern baseball, basketball, football, all the women's sports we have. It's just an awesome place, and you get there in 2 or 3 minutes. You can't beat it.
No, that's what we talked about. God's plan is best, and He positions us where He needs us to. And we've been very fortunate to be in 5 college towns, right? And the beauty of those college towns, you can get big-time college athletics and also the small town feeling and everything that comes with it, such as small commute times, right? You don't have to sit 45 minutes in traffic in a big city and go 5 miles, right? So for us, it allows you to compete, and me personally, at a big-time athletic program such as Georgia Southern, but also have the home dynamics. And, one of the things we talk to people about when we recruit them here, they might not always know where Statesboro is, and we say, obviously, it's less than an hour northwest of Savannah. But one of the cool things is just the way the interstate system's set up right off 16 and 95 and 75. You draw a 5-hour radius, and that's what we recruit coaches in is, hey, listen, you don't have to fly a lot. You just get on the road, and you're going to be where you need to be. So there's a lot of benefits, obviously, close to the coast and other things, but it's a great community.
Yeah, and I think that's why somebody like Coach Clay Helton fits right in, because he's from this Southeast territory. Yes, he came from USC, but I think this is just such a natural fit for him. And tell us why you're excited about this upcoming season with Coach.
Yeah, listen, I think one of the things there's a lot of reasons, but I'll tell you the thing to me that really excites me is I've seen the work that not only Coach Helton, but his staff and the student athletes have put in the last 3 years and getting a behind the curtain look at it. When he came in, and we were not in a great spot, not only as a football program, but just off the field. And there's a lot of things that never meets the light of day. And we had to kind of rebuild, quite frankly, from scratch. And part of that was making sure that we had the right people in the right place. And, when you have someone like, obviously, Coach Helton that, institutionally wise, respected and revered, and he's also looked at as one of the brightest minds in college football. To me, what he's done it the right way. We haven't cut corners. We've tried to build it organically, recruit from the state of Georgia, from the high schools, different schools and systems across the state. And so really this year 3, we're starting to see the fruits of the labor. We're starting to see the yield of the crops, per se, relative to seeing guys, that come in, 245, 250 or now, or 295, 300 pounds and on our line. So I think people this year will see the size and our depth really jump off the page. We've got a lot of playmakers. We have the ability through the Eagle Nation Collective to retain our top student athletes. And so it's definitely the most talented team since I've been here. And now it's just going out and executing.
I'm just super stoked for this season. NIL is something I want to touch on just for a little
Sure.
bit. We've got to get Eagle Nation behind this, and they are, and they're starting to step up. But it's like we've got to kind of think outside the box and educate them a little bit. Everybody's hearing NIL, but just touch on it for a couple minutes on what it means.
Yeah, really NIL. It's funny. I've heard people call it nil, and it throws me off. I'm like, what is nil? But it's name, image, and likeness. And really what it really boils down to, if you really want to look at it, it's really additional scholarship dollars, and it comes via licensing and marketing. But really what it allows us to do is really enhance the scholarship opportunities for our student athletes. So you think about, like for me, for example, when I went to school, I had the Hope Scholarship and I had a GA, but I had living expenses. I had expenses that weren't covered. And so with NCAA and kind of deregulating stuff, it allows us to provide more resources to the student athletes. And what I think sometimes what people see on the news, a quarterback in this state that's driving a Lamborghini, that's the 1% of 1%.
That's right.
What you're seeing in NIL really is through additional scholarships. It allows we have guys on our team that haven't had a functioning car. We've had guys on the team whose parents have never been able to see them play in college. We've had young men on the team that haven't had the money living expense wise to not only pay their apartments but also day-to-day expenses, and so they've had to take out loans. And so really what you're doing is financially positioning these young people to really not only have a great experience here at Southern, but not to leave here with a bunch of debt. So like for me, name, image, and likeness, you're really changing the lives. We're not talking crazy numbers like you're seeing at some of the other conferences like the
That's
SEC
right.
and others. And so really for us, I look at it as just another opportunity to put not only more money in the pockets of our student athletes, but also to really position them so they don't leave with six figures in debt.
What changes do you still see coming?
Yeah.
Do you think there's a bunch more still coming? Are they still fine-tuning the whole NIL thing? I mean, is that –
Well, there's a big lawsuit right now, the House versus NCAA, that's going to be settled. Looks like March, April of next year. At least we hope it's going to be settled. And what that's going to allow schools to start doing is really, quite frankly, from a scholarship allocation standpoint, is getting away from head count or equivalency sports. Like, for example, like baseball, a lot of people don't realize generally don't offer full rides.
just partial, right?
Partials, right? Where football offers full rides, right? What allows you start doing is saying, all right, here's your roster cap, no different than like you have the NFL or MLB and stuff.
Right.
And then you can sit there and allocate it how you want. So going forward, you can offer non-full football scholarships. You can offer 1.5 football scholarships to one guy. So it honestly is becoming more like pro ball from the standpoint of like a salary cap, where your salary cap's your financial aid. And so that's a big change that's coming up.
I really hope all season ticket holders can get on board and really kind of pour in, because it's just going to make a difference. I mean, you see some of the schools at the top of our conference, we need to step up. So I hope Eagle Nation really kind of gets behind this.
Well, listen, we have an incredible fan base, and I think one of the things you'll see, just like coming this year to Paulson, we spent a lot of money and a lot of time, energy, and effort getting, whether it be the new video board, the new ribbon boards, the new sound system, getting a new concessionaire in there, getting a new retailer in there. We try to continue to bring and enhance value every day to all our fans, donors, and alumni that are coming to games. And so to the same point, we're trying to continue to find ways to support our student athletes at a high level, because we're recruiting more high-level student athletes in every sport on campus than we ever have before. And listen, like we're going up against a lot of Power 4 schools, and we're going up against schools that, if it's all about resources, we never play the game. We talk about what we have, not what we don't have, but we want to continue to grow our resources because it takes money to play. It's no different than any business, right? Sometimes you have to spend money to make money, and sometimes you've got to look across the board and say, hey, how do we get better? And it takes an additional investment to get better, and that's where we are right now, just continuing to grow.
And I've always looked at marketing as kind of breaking even. If you can put the money in, at least break even, but we've got to kind of just keep, as a fan base, we've got to kind of change our mindset. Well, I'm just a season ticket holder. Well, that's awesome, but we also got to kind of dig a little deeper.
Well, you even see this year, for example, we have part of our new opportunities and partnerships with Airmark and expanded partnership with Southern Exchange, the Roundup program. We're going to try to get additional businesses in town where you go to the concession counter or you go to the retail counter for William Martin and his staff, and your total is $21.10. You want to round up 90 cents in the nearest dollar. So the incremental piece,
and that'll go to NIL,
and that and really again that goes towards our student athletes' pockets. And so that incremental revenue, when you have 20,000+ fans each game, and obviously pushing for a sellout this upcoming week against Boise State. I mean, that makes a big difference. And then you have that at every venue and have it in store at Southern Exchange. I mean, it's going to continue to really snowball.
I've been a Georgia Southern grad in '05 and have had several athletic directors come, and I want to compliment you on the push and the drive that you've had just to make us better. I think your mind is always working. How can I get better? And as a business owner, I can appreciate that. And you run it that way. And I've seen the big, huge projects that are coming. Some of the fans on this podcast may not know, but you want to shed light on a couple of the awesome projects that we have coming?
Yeah, well, sure. It goes back to you're only as good as the people around you, and when you're in a leadership role, you get more credit you deserve and more blame, and so we have a lot of talented people that make me and make us look a lot better than what we are. And but no, from a project standpoint, I mean, listen, we got over $100 million in projects, and we just went over last week the threshold to start baseball project. I actually had a meeting this morning, and so we're looking to start in December, no later than January, on a 12-month project. It's a $10 million project, and so that comes on the heels of the new Jack and Ruth Ann Hill Convocation Center. We'll have our first game right now is in the first week of December. That's a $65 million project. We have obviously the Tippins Family Center open up last year was $15 million, but then you look across the board between parking lot piece, renovations to fencing around Paulson to the new scoreboard and sound system. And I mean, we've obviously been really trying to put a lot of money into our facilities, and that's where we need to get better at. Because the reality is college athletics continues to look at NIL and increase scholarships, which we're doing. We had to get better in terms of where we're playing every day, where our student athletes are spending their time every day. And listen, you have to look through the lens of a 16 to 18-year-old. And 16 to 18-year-olds, regardless of sport, are visual people. Oh, yeah. Same thing with parents. They want to see progress. They want to see that there's an investment. They don't care where the investment's coming from. There's an investment into their son or daughter's future potential home. And so for us, we've really been able to make up, through Eagle Nation's help and other corporate sponsors, really continue to make up ground. And that's been huge because we're looking at a brand new arena this year, starting new baseball. I mean, you look around, and I mean, it's just changed. Just like the Tippins Family Center, league gift by Anthony Tippins and his family. I mean, it's changed the entire game day landscape.
And I've tailgated in the RV lot for years and loved it, and still, tailgating is one of my favorite spots of the game. To go there and hang out with friends and network and do all that. And the Tippins is a game changer. Yeah. You called it, and it was. It's covered, shaded, nice breeze. It really, you don't get tired on the game day. So it's an awesome thing, especially for the players, not just the tailgating use, but the players practicing in that facility.
Well, anyone that grows up in Georgia understands the premium of shade, and
yes,
it doesn't matter how you get there, but shade and convenience. And then ultimately, like the beauty of the Tippins facility from a non-football standpoint is, one of the things you hear a lot from our fans was, hey, I got to find babysitters and make the commute. Well, if you go to the Tippins Family Center, I mean, you have the ability to go in there and kids can run around and play with their friends and adults can be with adults. And so what it's allowed is it's brought people to games that maybe historically haven't been able to come or unwilling to come because of babysitter issues or just length of time, where now they can come to the games and enjoy it, and it's a 10-plus hour day.
Yeah, and if you hadn't had a chance to check it out, definitely check it out this year, and you will thank me later for the shade that it provides. So switching gears a little bit from Georgia Southern, what do you think, that you spend your most money on that you feel like you could cut back?
Probably eating out. I think part of that is just the stage of life we find ourselves right now with.
Busy days. And
listen, I can empathize with a lot of our fans. We have young kids. Like I said, our boys are 11 and 8, and they're extracurricular activities. I mean, like right now I've got one that's doing golf and cross country and one that's doing football, and they both want to lift weights, and we're glorified Uber drivers, right? So
yeah, that's why I tell everybody I'm a taxi cab driver.
So yes, I mean, it's easy to eat out a lot. That's probably the one discretionary spending that ultimately we always can do better. And there's times of the year I think we do a really good job. There's some times of the year where we're just kind of going day by day. But you're not going to bait me into the question about why are you not cooking more? So, because that gets me in trouble. So.
Sarah, don't worry. So what investment that you think that you had success on that you'd repeat?
So it wasn't a huge amount, but I maxed out my Roth IRAs at a young age. When I got married, I had a little debt I brought into the marriage. My wife didn't have any, and so she was the she was I guess primary breadwinner at least the first year or two, and really she allowed us to pay those debts off, and then really look at, all right, well, how do we max out that raw? Then at the time, I think it was like, I don't know, $5,500 a year. It's gone up since then. But we maxed that out, before we had kids. And then really just let compounding interest go. And so, early investing, because quite frankly, I mean, I look back, I wish that we had bought a house in Arkansas. We had a good rental. We didn't really, obviously, didn't have 20% down payment. And we're paying off credit card debt and paying off some debt from college, right? And nothing crazy, but still had to pay it off first. And so looking back, like if I could go back and do it all over again, we would have bought a house in Arkansas, had the appreciation of the home, left there probably $40,000, $50,000 in equity. But at the end of the day, we had a good renter, and it was $1,000 a month for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch, and it was a good rental. And we didn't know at the time, as we always say, it was like that Yiddish proverb, we plan and God laughs, right? And so we thought, I thought we'd be there for a year or two, and I didn't want to buy anything, and we ended up being there 4 years, and of course hindsight's always 20/20. So,
yeah, real estate is definitely proven to be, it's done well for a lot of coaches, especially over the last 5, 6, 7 years. Bought early, or anybody in athletics that bought in, and it seems to be something that still has historically done well. It's had some dips, but so is the stock market. But I think over long haul, real estate is definitely an excellent play.
Well, especially, this is our 5th college town we've lived in, and those values have only gone up, and again, we've owned in 4 of the 5, and I wish we had, like I said, had owned in Arkansas. But no, man, I think that's one of the things you see a lot of people are moving back to these areas, and so, I never forget, like at Auburn, we owned a house for a year, and I'm thinking, man, we're going to take a bath in it, and we actually made money because the Auburn market was blowing up. And so, but you see it all over the SEC. You see it all over the Southeast in particular. So.
I don't see how you go wrong in these Sun Belt, SEC. Our region in general is growing, good climate, college towns. It seems to me to be a winning formula.
And also by convenience. We always try to find a place where it's easy, just commuting wise, where you can pop home. Like last night we had practice. The boys had practice. We had the coaches show, Hail Southern Live at 7, and so the pop home for 15 minutes versus going directly to Wild Wings. And so, a lot of it's just day-to-day convenience. And so when you're in good proximity, you're in a great town, man, it always sells.
Location. 100%. It's always real estate 101. Jerry, we got a couple more questions. What do you think about how your job has changed over the last couple years, just in general, just challenges or anything easing up, or is it just what's difficult?
I don't look at it as easing up per se. I just look at it like you have to have a change mindset, right? And our industry's changed a lot, right? NIL's one, and when I started here, literally COVID hit, I think 3 days after my press conference, and so that changed everything, at least for 2 years, and it changed financial outlooks. It changed how you came to work and how you competed, and then you go right into NIL and all those changes. So it's been the last really 4 to 5 years has just been a lot of change. Now, the reality is you can embrace change or you can become a dinosaur, and we're not going to become a dinosaur. And I think that's where, sometimes when I talk to folks about whether it be NIL or other things that are changing, it might not look like they're used to seeing it. And quite frankly, like it's not how it was when I started working at 18.
That's right.
It wasn't how when I came here to Statesboro, it was vastly different. But the one constant that remains is like we're impacting the lives of 450 plus student athletes a year. And I really look at it, and my wife too, is like kind of our ministry. Like our ministry is helping young people, right? And there's different ways, outside of the office with Athletes in Action and FCA and Young Life. There's ways to, glorify God and impact the kingdom, right? But at the end of the day, like our purpose of why we do what we do has not changed. Now, how we do it and what we direct funds to and how we do, that's changing. So I think the business model has changed, but the why, what we do, hasn't changed.
Yeah, and I've noticed you inviting the teams and you guys hosting, and that seems to be a very important part, and gives you fulfillment and giving back and pouring into the students' lives, which is really cool.
And listen, much is given, much is expected, right? And really, it's all God's money, right? And at the end of the day, for us, I think, one of the beauties of being on a college campus, you're getting people from all over the world, all over the U.S. Some come from nuclear families, some come without, parents. It's just like for us, we want to be a home away from home. We want them to feel like our goal has always been by the time they walk across graduation stage that they stop and pause and say, man, I wish I could go back and do it again. And if we do that, and obviously a standard is to leave with a degree, then we've done our part. Now, where I think we continue to commit resources and where I spend a lot of my time beyond raising money is really connecting not only you and other corporate partners and also donors that are hiring managers with our student athletes. Because to me, we've got an unbelievable opportunity to say, listen, our student athletes are the cream of the crop. They're producing
100%.
at a higher level in the classroom. They're managing a full academic and athletic workload.
Competitive people.
Competitive people,
that's who I want that
And
around
so-
me. I want people being competitive.
And so for us, as we continue to attract better coaches and have higher performance, like everything's correlated. Like you look at 6 of the last 8 semesters record GPA, 4 consecutive years of record fundraising. And you look at athletic performance as we continue to get better across the board. We had 11 of 16 teams that compete in the Sun Belt. Rifle competes in the SoCon, where they won last year. 11 of 16 finished in the top half. Now, make no mistake, we want to win more and more championships and go to the NCAA, but we're making progress across the board. And so when you have all those correlating factors, it kind of goes into what Coach Shelton says all the time. When your life's right, your ball's right. So.
Yep. That's awesome. All right, we got 3 more, and we'll wrap it up. One question I always ask everybody is how do you like your coffee, but you are not a coffee man.
No, never. I think I've tried it once or twice. So I either do
What's your energy?
Crystal Light Energy in the morning, or I'll do like when it's cold outside, I'll do like tea, but I don't do coffee.
No coffee.
Yeah.
Huh? Well, we're gonna convert you.
But you know what's funny,
gotta
but even Chris, we work with Chris, doesn't drink any caffeine.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But you know, as you get older, sometimes you get that.
Chris just has natural caffeine.
Natural caffeine. Well, you know what's funny though, as you get older, sometimes I feel like that pick me up in the afternoon. Sometimes it is a big help. So.
You do need it. Yeah, I like a little afternoon pick me up for sure. If you had $100,000 extra money, how would you invest that today? What would you think to want to put it in?
Well, I mean, I think it kind of goes back to you want to have that 3 to 4 month kind of rainy day fund, which I've been blessed to be able to do that. So it'd be in real estate right now, and I think part of that is understanding like what would that be, and I haven't got there yet. But I think part of that is understanding diversification, because I've been heavy in stocks and equities and bonds and stuff for a long time. So part of that is just diversifying my retirement plan. So it'd be in real estate.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I'm always going to lean heavy real estate because what I know, and I just, for anybody listening and watching, take action when you have the extra money. Not everybody has the extra $100,000 laying around. We know that, but single family rental, just a brick rental house in a good. It doesn't have to be Statesboro. It could be any college town. I love college towns. I'm partial to that. But I think a small town that has job growth and a brick house, I mean, that is the most basic human need, is to live in a house. So no matter what, some of these companies that you never thought would fail, Blockbuster Video. Golly, I used to love going to the video store, watching that with my dad. But Blockbuster failed, and you'd have never thought it would. But everybody's got to live in a house, right? Like, that's the most basic human need. So I just think that's one of the strongest things you can put your money into and just play the long game. Real estate is mainly a long-term game.
Yeah. Well, and ultimately, hopefully, it creates passive income, right, and appreciation, over time. And I saw my dad do that in college. I was the first of 3 that went to school in Athens, and he bought it was a townhome, actually a one-level townhome that was or condo. Pre-construction, and then sold it, 8 to 10 years later, and obviously had the equity in the place, plus it appreciated. And
the tax benefits.
So it's funny, I always joke with him that he basically made money on us in college, which he said that we cost him a lot to get to college, so it kind of never it didn't balance out all the way. So.
He paid his dues, and you paid him back.
Dues, yeah.
All right, and the last question is, what is your number one thing that you waste time on that you wish you could do better? What is your biggest time waster?
Probably in some ways social media. There's a give and take, right? Just in terms of
wanting to stay in the know.
Well, stay in the know, and listen, social media is a great way to stay up on the news, right? I don't watch the news on TV, and I get most of my news and information from social media. Of course, you got to factor out what's real and what's not. But it's a slippery slope, right? In terms of being on that a lot. That's probably the biggest time drain.
I think everybody's guilty of that.
Yeah, but I think for the most part, try to be really, you try to have flexibility. Like, I'll give you a great example. Like, I try to leave Fridays where I've got, especially in football, it makes sense. But even outside of football season, I leave Fridays where I got a little more time to ideate and try to leave some flexibility in there to critical think and think outside the box a little bit.
That's right.
So part of that, what I've learned as I've gotten older, is to not be so meeting heavy, which our staff will tell you. Like for myself, I get my ADD kicks in like 30 minutes, so I've got to keep meetings short. But you can let your meetings and schedule or run your week, and so I've tried to take more control over that meeting schedule, because that's another thing too. Like sometimes you can look up and say, man, I didn't get any work done today, and you look at your calendar and you had 8 consecutive meetings back to back, and you're like, well, then if I'm not getting, maybe I'm not driving, enough of change or making a big enough difference. Well, maybe I need to relook at my calendar. So at times my calendar has been not as productive, different parts of my career.
Right.
And so now I try to be really efficient with my calendar. And really, like in the fall, like people think, man, football, you're so wide open. Yeah, but there's a cyclical nature, right? In the fall, where it's really crazy, is that overlap of basketball going to the spring sports. Like our February and March are just gangbusters. Now we love it, but it can really be it's a lot.
Well,
so there's different peaks.
There's
a lot of peaks and there's a lot of valleys too during the year. Yeah. But there's nothing like starting out, football first home game. Like you're kind of itching, because you get to, let's just be honest, you get to mid-July and you're 6 weeks out and you're like, let's just go ahead and get to September.
Right.
Now our coaches don't want to do that because they want to use the practice time. But you kind of we're all been kind of itching to get ready for this Boise game. So,
well, we're excited. Jared, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate you as a friend and also as just our leader here at Georgia Southern. And I'm just excited for this year. And I think we got an 8-9 win season coming in hot.
Now it's going to be a great season. I appreciate you as well, and thanks for having me on the podcast.
Yes, sir.